So I will talk for about 8 minutes. We have a wonderful panel coming up and want to get to that. But basically, Steffi and everybody at DLD was kind enough to ask me to talk about Business Insider, which is the company that I founded about 6 years ago and have run since then. We're the leading native digital business news site. If you read it, thank you very much. If you don't, hopefully we'll get you reading it at some point. But basically what I'm going to do is talk about our experience, especially as it pertains ultimately to video and digital storytelling, which is very different. And then I'm going to show some just general slides on the digital video market, especially as it's taking shape in the United States. So basically, for Business Insider, we started Business Insider 2007. We were 3 guys in a loading dock, writing frantically. We had about 1,000 readers the first day. We were very excited about that, and then the audience went down a little bit over the next week. We were very depressed, but then things started to move, did well. It's been slow, but very steady over the last several years. We now have about 2 million readers a day and 40 million a month, and we've recently started focusing on video, and that's doing very well. So we are, I hope, a good example of a native digital journalism site that is working. We fund ourselves. We have outside investors too, but we could be profitable if we wanted, and we were in the fourth quarter. So if you're worried about journalism, don't. It's going to be fine. We are in a golden age of journalism. So we had a simple theory when we started the site, which is this is a new medium. If you look at the way other new media have evolved, you find that each new media evolves its own storytelling technique, its own business model, its own distribution that is ultimately different than everything that has gone before it. So this, like a newspaper, ultimately turned out to be incredibly different from TV news. Same company couldn't do both, and why would they? They're very different. So our idea was that those things, TV and newspapers, are ultimately going to be very different from Business Insider and all the successful digital news sites out there. And we focused 100% on digital. We did not try to mimic print or TV. We didn't worry about preserving the traditions at the New York Times and things like that. It was very freeing. We were able to experiment. And ultimately, fortunately, that has worked. We have had very good reader growth over time. We've done it with a budget that makes sense for us. As I said, we're up to about 40 million unique readers a month. This is across all platforms, which is very important. One of the big differences, we have about half of our readers still on desktop and about 10% on tablets and the rest on smartphones. So the content works across all of those, which it needs to. We now have strong video growth. I talked about experimentation. One of the things that we had to overcome was this idea we had to get out from under the article and things like that. With video, we started video a few years ago. We said, oh, it's great. We can now do video. We'll have a guest, and we'll go live at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we'll ask the guest questions, and it'll be great. Everyone will tune in and watch. And so we did that for a week or two, and what we realized was, you know what? What is this? This is bad CNBC. That's what this is. And we can get as good as we possibly can get at it, and we will still be bad CNBC. And by the way, Bloomberg TV, which is excellent, is streamed online for free globally, and nobody watches it. So maybe people don't want to watch TV online. Maybe we should do something different with video. And we experimented with this for a while. Ultimately, we figured out something that worked, and now our video team is really killing it, which is great. We're the fastest growing digital site. We're the orange bar over there. We've blown past publications that I love, like The Economist and FT and others, which is very good. And in November, we were actually almost as big globally as the Wall Street Journal, which was very good, and we were very happy about internally. The key to our success has been focusing 100% on digital storytelling. Again, not being distracted by having to save a newspaper or maintain a TV network, but being able to do things differently, see where the media took us. So we're not jamming square pegs in round holes. We're just figuring it out as we go. And it turns out that digital is as different from print and television as print and television are from one another. And that is one of the things that allows us to continue to be successful, is that our big competitors tend to have a traditional publication that they're focused on. It makes things a lot more difficult for them on the digital side. So how is it different? This we'll be talking about in the panel today. 3 key ways: storytelling, first off. Second, distribution, very different. And third, the business model is very different, especially on the cost structure side. We're going to talk just about the first, storytelling, today. Traditional storytelling does work online. Articles do work as long as you can find a way to write them and report them actually economically in a way that makes sense for the medium. Pictures work very well. Instagram, we've seen that, incredibly powerful. Videos work very well. If you have an interview, like DLD interviews with somebody for a long time, people will watch those. But really, you have all these new kinds of stories that are working well, like live blogs, links. Telling a story with a link is very powerful online. You can never do that offline. Picture stories, incredibly powerful. Go somewhere, tell the story in pictures with a voiceover. Charticles, you can tell a whole story just using charts. Text, tweets, and updates, all of these things are forms of stories that are native to this medium and very powerful. Instagrams, snaps with Snapchat now, GIFs, or GIFs if you want to pronounce it that way, Vines, a whole new form of storytelling. Turns out 6 seconds, that is the perfect length to tell a video story online. 30 seconds is like an hour-long infomercial. We can't even handle it. So Vines, I think, are going to become a big new form of advertising. Digital videos, we now do our own. As I said, we've started to figure this out. This was a test. There's a cookie in the United States that they claim has double the stuff in the middle as the regular version of the cookie. So we tested that, and it turns out it only has 1.9 of the stuff in the middle. So careful when you buy those cookies, you are getting ripped off. Anyway, so a lot of different things going there that are good. And importantly, the same thing is true for advertising on the storytelling side. You go back to the beginning of television, the early TV ads were terrible. They didn't know how to use the medium yet. We hadn't figured out storytelling. Now it's gotten so good on television that people watch the Super Bowl for the ads. So that's how good it's going to get. Hopefully the same thing will happen in digital. That will make us all very happy. So where are we in video? Is TV dead yet? Has digital totally taken over? Okay, I hate to break it to you. TV is so not dead. This is the United States. That huge thing on the top, that is TV advertising. It is still rising. That tiny little sliver on the bottom, that is digital ad spending. So as we talk about the rise of digital, keep in mind where we are. TV is still doing just fine, and I have been predicting the death of TV for 15 years. I have a feeling I'm going to be predicting it another 15, 30 years before we get there. TV's doing very well. However, a few charts to set the stage. Paid streaming is growing incredibly quickly. We're going to hear about that from Stefan with Watchever. Netflix is doing extraordinarily well, growing very fast. People are now happily ponying up and paying for digital video. That's very good news for the makers of high-quality video. YouTube in the United States, collectively, is now bigger than a sort of dime a dozen cable network. This is AMC, which does The Walking Dead, which is very famous. You know, it's an average cable network. YouTube has crawled up ahead of them, but there's still the lines at the bottom. That line at the top, that's CBS. TV is supposed to be dead. Look where CBS is, look where YouTube is, the hugest one out there. We still have a long way to go. iTunes and Netflix now dwarf the cable networks. So there's a lot of progress there. Facebook in the United States, this is very profound, now reaches more young people on a daily basis than TV, broadcast TV in general. Very profound. And as they move into video, that's going to have a big impact. And then mobile, if you look at media time, and these are US numbers again, mobile is the only thing that is growing. Everything else, including even traditional desktop online, is shrinking. So TV's going down, the money ultimately will follow the movement, and mobile is the only thing that's growing. So when you put this all together, what do you get? For the first time in the United States, regular pay TV subscriptions are dropping. Not astronomically, not catastrophically. Again, these companies are so unbelievably rich. It would take a lot of that to actually make a difference. But they are starting to drop. And when you talk to younger people, we had a conference in New York recently where we interviewed a teen panel. You know, what do you do? What do you think is cool? One of the telling remarks was, I think cable is a complete waste of money. I'm not ever watching TV shows. I'm just watching on demand. I don't have time and I hate commercials. Maybe that teen will change going forward, but maybe not. Maybe we will be entering this new world. So overall, the times are changing, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome this awesome panel that is going to tell you all about this. So come on up. Thank you. Great. So as we everyone gets assembled up here, let me just briefly introduce everybody. Jamal Edwards on the end is an entrepreneur from Britain who founded his own TV production network called SBTV. Jimmy Maymann is the CEO of Huffington Post, which has a huge video effort called Huffington Post Live or HuffPo Live. Shahrzad Rafati, BroadbandTV, is sort of a new type of TV network that aggregates thousands and thousands of content producers and ultimately helps them monetize and distribute their stuff. And Stefan Schulz runs what I have been informed in a way that I can understand is the Netflix of Germany. So welcome. So what I thought we'd do is just start out, well, let's just tell everybody what you do. And if you tell it in a long-winded way, I will stop you and try to focus you and so forth. So Stefan, why don't you start? So what is Watchever?
Basically what it is, it's like a video service that works on, it's like a non-linear video service on demand that works on most platforms, on the significant ones.
So Netflix of Germany, is that fair?
Yeah, the categorization, I would not give them that much credit, but it's like that,
So your subscribers are normal TV viewers?
Yes.
They have cable or other TV?
Yeah.
And are they replacing it, or are they getting it in addition to?
I would say what's happening for the moment is that they're really getting it in addition, because this is really what the first wave of usage really also shows and demonstrates. So, like they use all the devices they have in house that they didn't have to have before. Now they have them all. They just want to make use of them and watch nice shows on that.
And you basically do what Netflix does, which is you go out to the content producers and owners, license TV shows and movies, bring them in, and then make them available.
Yeah, we have, like most of the stuff really is what we license from third party, but we also have, we're also very happy to be part of a group like Vivendi, which is also a significant producer in Europe. And so we have many shows that are produced by in-house, so to speak. So we are like a little bit different situation from Netflix, who are now building it, and we already have it in the...
And do you do original content?
Yes. Okay.
And you are growing extraordinarily fast, but the numbers are so secret that you can't tell us.
Yeah, we have actually seen a very significant growth, like starting basically in July, July, August. That's when we really picked up a lot. And the beginning, like we started in January last year, and it was really like the beginning was full of technical issues, and there was a lot of demand all of a sudden. And like you described basically the beginning of your story, and then in the end it was just like it took off like crazy from a German perspective, of course, right?
Okay.
So we are talking. I don't disclose as we cannot disclose, as you will not get any numbers from other services like that. But generally, you can say that in December we really hit easily the 6-digit numbers in new acquisitions.
New acquisitions, so that's a month.
That's pretty significant for a German service.
And so Netflix is not here. Are you terrified about what happens if they suddenly open a Netflix of Germany?
No, they're not here, and I would not be, first of all, a good entrepreneur, and secondly, not a good manager to be afraid of anything. So we are really not afraid. We are completely excited about the market. And I'm not terrified at all, I have to say.
Shahrzad, what is BroadbandTV?
So BroadbandTV is a media technology company. We help content owners and content creators become successful online. We really have three components to the business. One is the network, where we help work with content creators, and we distribute their assets across our network. We build communities around specific niche verticals. The other is our technology, and the purpose of us building this technology was to really help enhance growth and engagement for content creators and help them generate more revenue. And the last is services. We've really worked on partner services, creative services, monetization services in order to increase the value of the impressions that the partners get across our network. Today we reach 1.5 billion views, that's billion, on a monthly basis across our network with hundreds of millions of subscribers, which makes us the third largest multi-channel network in the world. And the reason why, the evolution of the business, when I started the company, the majority of the content that was sitting on sites like YouTube was pirated content, or in other words, fan-uploaded content. So what we did is we started creating solutions like video fingerprinting, audio fingerprinting, optical character recognition, to really put the content owners back in control of their IP and help them generate a new revenue stream. So we were really detecting the fan-uploaded content, but also more importantly, helping content owners to really engage with those fans, understand how they're curating their content, how they're really sharing it with their friends on Facebook, on Twitter.
So you don't actually create content. You find it, you license it, you then distribute it effectively. You're a middle person, like
no,
almost like
actually, we do actually acquire exclusive rights for the content from independent content creators. So we work with content creators of all sizes. We have more than 13,000 partners, content partners. This range from smaller content creators, so it could be an individual that is creating a music video, or it could be an MBA. So for the MBA, we have an end-to-end solution. NBA has a premium destination. They have content on YouTube. They also have fan-uploaded content. So when you look at all the assets that NBA has online, we've detected about 350,000 videos for the NBA across fan sites. And that is 97% of the total pool of video content that sits out there for NBA programming. And so we also create our own content. So we work in terms of acquiring exclusive rights from independent content creators to acquiring non-exclusive rights from larger media companies to actually producing our own shows. We have, this last year, we produced 10 original shows that were, again, around the niche verticals that we distribute across our network.
And so, but you effectively make money by taking in advertising and either doing a revenue share with your partners or you're licensing outright?
Exactly. So we work with our partners on a rev share basis, and we monetize the content on an ad basis. So we work with the advertising community to place ads against our content. Also, through our technology, we have two platforms, Viso Novi and Viso Catalyst. Catalyst is the ultimate intelligent, result-driven companion platform that increases viewership and engagement by 34% for partners. So you could actually join our network and work with us on a rev share basis, or you could actually license Catalyst on a licensing basis, a subscription model, to really cater it for people that are not within our network.
Great. Jimmy, you are the CEO of Huffington Post. Tell us a little bit about Huffington Post and a lot about Huffington Post video.
So Huffington Post, for those of you that don't know Huffington Post, I hope not many, but it's a social media and news platform. We are a global player. We have business in 10 markets now. 50% of our traffic is now international. We have close to 100 million readers on a monthly basis. The latest that we've done is launching HuffPost Live, which is obviously what's interesting in this context, which is our video proposition. So HuffPost Live is an online streaming news service. We are live 8 hours a day in the US currently. We have, over the last year, created around 850 million streams. On a monthly basis, last month was 108 million streams, video streams. So the business is growing. We've over the last 6 months really seen an exponential growth. So we're starting to really understand what it is that works in a live context. But also, even though we talk live and it is live streaming, how important the VOD, video on demand component becomes, and how important it becomes for the site. So even though HuffPost Live in its own is a business and something we're very proud on and we put a lot of effort in, it also becomes a secondary video strategy for the site, because obviously it allows us now to have a catalog of relevant video, because every month we cut down our live segments, so we have more than 5,000 new clips in our library. And obviously that means that our editors on the side can put content that are relevant to the stories that they produce anyway. And that in turn has driven up our engagement on the sites and also the overall monetization on the HuffPost side. So those are the things that we're focusing on right now.
And so of the streams, because this is something that's very important that I think a lot of people miss, is what you just said, is that people do consume a huge number of clips online, but it sounds like occasionally they do tune in and just watch HuffPost Live. Of all the streams, is the majority of the clipped, Or is the majority of people
The
tuning in?
majority right now is the VOD business. So the VOD business is right now 75% of it. So even though we call it HuffPost Live and we want to drive a live audience, that is the difficult part, because live experiences is something people tune into when they're happening. When you have the Oscars or you have the playoffs in the NFL and they want to kind of follow the background commentary to that, or when you have a Boston bombing, so when you have the big news things, then people tune in and really watch a lot of live. On a day-to-day, people tune in if they know that you have big guests coming on, so that's what driving the live experience. Or when you're addressing, important areas like the fiscal cliff or things like that. But on average, people, as I said, 75% of them are accessing the things after the fact, and that's actually also quite interesting, because people also want to consume it in smaller tidbits. So the 2 minutes that we cut them down in is working a lot better than a 20-minute segment, obviously, because even though people come and watch a lot of clips, on average they actually stay 18 minutes on the platform. But as I said, the majority of those 18 minutes is then distributed across clips they then find in the catalog. So the live is 25% and not the majority of the business at this point in time.
And Huffington Post is not a non-profit, as I understand it. So how do you get paid to do this? How do you fund a considerable investment in video creation and processing?
That's right. When we went into video, we wanted to be really serious about it. So we went out and hired 80 people and really doubled down on it and put a lot of money behind it. So you're right. Of course, we're not a charity. We're 100% advertising funded, which means we also needed to find ways of integrating advertisers into that. Of course, with the VOD business, you can still do pre-rolls, post and post-rolls as well. But what really working on the platform is the sponsorships. So really going 50 years back and looking at the soap operas and trying to get sponsors and integrate them in broader segments. So that's working. And then also, video also becomes important as mobile is growing for us. Video becomes extremely important because mobile, as you know, standard banner units is not monetizing very well on mobile. But video, actually, what we're seeing with the video is that actually that can deliver significant value for us on the mobile platform, where we're starting to see close to 50% of our traffic coming by mobile. So video suddenly becomes a very important monetization strategy across the site, across the platforms.
Great. Jamal, I gather you have a video you want to show us about SPTV and then talk about it.
So SPTV was started when I was 15. I'm an original content provider, and the main reason why I started is because I had a load of friends that were kind of doing music but not getting recognised by the mainstream media. So I wanted to create a platform, and I used YouTube when I was 15 to upload the videos straight to online, and it was very UK hip-hop, very niche focus, which is now spread over, which is why I wanted to show a little video to show how it's sort of spread out.
Great, let's roll. Are you actually going to play it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Air Max password, yeah.
All right.
So basically, yeah, so it started off in the grime scene, and I've managed to now take it out of music, because it was predominantly music, to doing videos with people like Richard Branson, Spike Lee. Wednesday I'm interviewing Bill Gates, done stuff with Bill Clinton, and it's because I've got a very large following of a specific young audience in the UK, so if they're coming over and they want to speak to that audience, then I'll film them.
Hey, this is John Legend.
Hey, what's up? This is Usher.
Hi, it's Kelly Rowland.
Yo, what up, man? You got Ludacris.
Y'all, it's Kendrick Lamar.
This is G Fresh, and you're watching SBTV.
Got a funny feeling that Jamal will never change, thank God.
So yeah, that's basically sort of a little bit, it's a bit long, but I've managed, that's what I've taken it from the sort of UK scene and managed to transcend it into other areas.
So it looks like very high-end production. Do you have a big team? How do you pay for this?
I have 4 full-time staff, 1 part-time and 4 freelance. So we're the ones that, the thing that I try and pride myself off is just all original content, and I always try and get exclusive performances. So if there's people like Ed Sheeran, he'll go and do something for SBTV, but he might do it for BBC, he might do it for MTV, but I'll say to him, come up with something that's exclusive just for my audience, so it resonates with them more.
And it's advertising?
The main sort of revenue stream is advertising, plus I've done branded content deals and worked with a few brands as well.
Great. So, all right, so broad questions about video. Please jump in. Feel free to argue with each other, make it more entertaining, all that stuff. So what are people watching online? I mean, we're going to just apply Nielsen ratings. What are people nuts about? And what effectively is the way to get paid in terms of content production?
I can say for us, maybe for BroadbandTV, I think one of the most interesting trends that we observed across the network, we focus on 6 different verticals. And these 6 different verticals are niche communities where we target tribal male. The way we define tribal male. Tribal male is an early adopter that really engages and contributes to the growth of the community. And in our world is also a content creator themselves. So what we actually saw over the past, since we started BroadbandTV, this massive shift in terms of user-assisted content within the gaming vertical. Obviously, music was massive. Vivo, we saw obviously how, given the fact that YouTube is the largest video platform out there with 1 billion uniques, Vivo was the #1 in terms of music and premium music. They're the premium music partner of YouTube, and we saw great growth in terms of music consumption. But within BroadbandTV, we saw great trends around the gaming vertical. And it keeps on growing.
So music and gaming, I know in Netflix in the United States, everybody thinks it's movies, but in fact it's TV shows. What are you seeing on Watchever?
Yeah, I can confirm that really it's, on the paid front, if you really go into a subscription, that people really would like to, what they really want to watch is their favorite shows, their favorite franchises, and then go all the way through. So like anything that is kind of, like giving you this bingey, like this, urge to watch it to the end, and also shows that have like a complicated plot where you really don't want to, where you cannot really follow on TV. Sometimes you miss a week and then the whole thing it's not really good, it's not really working for you anymore. Like Breaking Bad, The Wire, other shows that is working, extremely well. What is also true is that the long-form special interest, the short-form and long-form special interest, like kids, documentaries, a lot on food, any kind of religion and other things where you have like this Michael Moore kind of stuff is working extremely well. And of course, which is for us super important, was very important to find out and figure out how, what is the appetite for local repertoire versus the US repertoire, in order to also make sure that we build a strong foundation for differentiation against our fellow competitors when they should ever dare to come, is really the local stuff. And the local stuff is, the people just love it. It's also because we, in the absence of a local platform that was not, it's not possible on the TV side in Germany. I think it's the same situation in Canada. Yeah. That's what we just talked about. There's a huge need also for local repertoire. So all this is extremely, it's extremely good for us.
So Jimmy, on the news side, you mentioned big stars, celebrities. We certainly see that. There are about 20 people who pontificate about the financial markets who everyone will go crazy to watch. I'm sorry, everybody else, you better say something interesting or no one will pay any attention at all. So what about on HuffingTon's side?
No, I think that at this stage of the development, I think that's fair to say. We have a saying on HuffPost that has worked for the site, and I think it actually also applies for video, is that on the site people come for Obama, but they stay for the Kardashians, so because we need to have broad appeal. And it's a little bit the same we're seeing with video, so when we have, P. Diddy or 50 Cent or Tom Brady or Giselle Bundchen, when you have those kind of people on, people are coming, and at the same time, we have a chance also to be niche. So it's okay for us to do that. And then at the same time, on this Monday, we had the former president Jimmy Carter on to talk about the Middle East, which personally I thought was very interesting. And there's enough of a following for us to do that. So of course it's much more niche. It's not as appealing to a broad audience, but that's also what the platform allows us to do.
And Jamal, any trends you've seen?
I always try to look at a few things when I'm making my content. I always look at if it's shocking, funny, talented, or scary, and if it ticks one of those boxes, and I think people share it. And I feel like I've done videos before which have gone viral, like 7 million views, but people don't sort of attach themselves to it as much as a video that's got hundreds of views. Like, people feel like if a video's got 1,000 views compared to 1 million, that they're the only people that have got there, so they're going to share it to the Facebook friends. I saw it first over you, and I always try and look at the video's trends by how many views it has, but normally it's about scary, shocking, funny, and just wow.
And you mentioned social. Talk about distribution, everybody. I mean, you go into the typical TV model. One of the reasons cable is so powerful is actually getting on a cable system is the only way you can reach the viewers. Online, much, much easier. Anybody can reach anybody, and yet now there's so much content out there that discovery is the huge issue. So talk about social, talk about other discovery.
Can I actually be devil's advocate here? Because I think that's a very interesting question, and I would like to hear from the MCNs, because right now YouTube is obviously a very important part of the ecosystem, and obviously they take a big share, 55%. So obviously if you want to produce quality content, how are you going to live from that, and how are you going to create a presence outside of YouTube? Because I think obviously that's where the big money is.
Right. So yeah, we do operate in an MCN as part of our business, and
I'm sorry, MCN.
It's a multi-channel network.
Okay.
So it's basically the network side of the business, and yes, YouTube. I think a lot of times when we think social, we think only Facebook and Twitter, but YouTube is the largest social platform, and I think there has been a great amount of innovation in terms of social consumption. I think if you remember 3 years ago at CES, it was all about smart TVs and smart hubs, and you had to toggle between an app and then go back to the consumption mode. Whereas now with platforms like Vine and YouTube, you can consume content and have that social experience at the same time. I think more importantly, I like interactive video with that social element, and I think that what YouTube is building with creative cards, making even videos interactive in terms of allowing content owners not to look at a platform in terms of just monetization on that basis, where they take a 55% cut or what have you, but also enabling content creators to generate revenue through a very, very solid e-commerce engine. So if you have products that you can actually sell within the video is interactive. You can purchase, you can have a shareable item, you can have a purchase button there, and you can buy a specific item in the video. So it's not just about the CPM and the rev share, it's about everything else that the platform brings to the table, from fan-uploaded content to e-commerce to monetization on an ad basis and integration with their other platforms.
Address what Jimmy just said, though. In the United States right now, there's a big backlash against YouTube. I mean, people feel like 55% is just outrageous, greedy. Basically, thanks for giving us the content so we can get rich. Now go eat ramen for the rest of your life. So how do you distribute through YouTube? So
I don't feel that way at all, and I would like to know who those people are. Actually.
Jason Calacanis.
I think that we're the third largest MCN, and I really believe that YouTube is the largest video platform. They represent more than 82% of the uniques. They have 6 billion video views that gets watched, which means you have 6 billion people on a planet. It means 6 billion hours. It means 1 hour per person. And back to your chart, they actually do reach more people in the age of adult, 13 to 34, than any other cable network, period, including CBS. So I really think that they have created a great platform, and that they are helping content owners look at online monetization outside just monetization on an ad basis. And I think with Google behind them, they have innovated themselves very well in the past year, and many great things to come.
So bottom line, they're bringing you enough eyeballs that the huge cut that they take is worth it.
I don't think it's just the eyeballs, it's the great product that they have, right? They are the largest ad platform. They have 1 million advertisers using the Google ad platform, and those are mainly smaller businesses, right? The CPMs in some of the key markets like the US and Germany are very healthy. They have an e-commerce platform that they're helping partners really, again, leverage from the platform in many different ways. You have fan-uploaded content on the site. They allow you to monetize the content on an ad basis for your fan content. It's a fan platform. You have 5,000 partners in the world that are using their platform. They have more than 2.5 million reference files. It's the largest reference file, for content ID in the world. So I think they offer many things.
Great. We will next DLD put you
I'm a
and
big
Jason
fan
on
of Google.
stage to fight.
So,
Stefan, jump in. I can see you.
No, I'm just.
First of all, what I think is pretty cool is the fact that we've had about 500 million viewing minutes in December in Germany alone, which is quite interesting because we were reaching almost 8 million viewing hours in such a short time. So to see that the whole viewing scenario is really shifting and it's becoming more true, that all of a sudden there's high usage. This was the most significant thing for us to see, and to see that this is even in the, given the size of this hugely company like YouTube, that's really already amazing on our side. But at the same time also I agree. I mean, the transfer from the viewing behavior of YouTube into our product is really not a secret, and that has also worked in the US very well, because you need to basically have the other part of the story where we really go into the paid content. And so for us, it's a very important partner. I would say that the social media is probably, for us and for the users themselves, like the most important tool, because it always improves the programming, because we look at everything, we look at the customers, we get the feedback immediately, and the shape of the programming and the way that the algorithm and everything works is hugely influenced by the social media. As opposed to advertising models where you watch right away, it's more in a subscription model. It's more like an orientation, and then you a little bit like a delay until you watch. But it works very, very well. So for us, it would be absolutely unthinkable, even in a country like Germany, where the dominant players in the TV market really are not so really happy about us entering this market to fight for viewing hours. This is really the way to go for us, and it has been. The partnership and the cooperation with Facebook, YouTube, and the likes, Axel Springer, where we have a marketing partnership that works. It's all, this part of the story is working very well. So we are extremely happy about that.
Jimmy, sorry, Jamal, go ahead.
Yeah, as a content creator, I just wanted to catch up on what was being said. Like, YouTube has helped me recognize other sort of revenue streams that I might have not recognized before. So like when I've done my merch and I've done taken over stages at festivals, and I've done TV shows on like terrestrial TV in the UK, that was off the back of YouTube. And I think as content creators, I think they've got to get a little bit smarter with how not just relying on YouTube, because if YouTube did turn off the plug, then some businesses might go and they might not have anything else. And that's what I think slowly but surely they're learning how to make money elsewhere, but it's definitely helped.
I think overall they've created a very healthy ecosystem. So it's not just about video and ads, it's a whole ecosystem. And that's so brilliant about it, right?
Yeah, I'm being devil's advocate here. I have nothing against Google or YouTube, and they're not doing anything with our business. But I do think it's interesting, because I do think that to really get that MCN model to work at scale and to see it flourish, I think, if you take 55% out of the equation, it's going to be difficult to create enough quality content. And I think that's what's going to drive the next generation of online video. Now we've seen, every mom and pops doing videos and cats on skateboards and things like that. Next generation is hopefully quality webisodes going directly into online video, right? The House of Cards of video, really. And if you want to do those kind of things, I think either you need to find distribution somewhere else where you have a bigger part of the cake, so you can actually produce the quality content, or the big MCMs needs to push YouTube, so they give a bigger part back to the MCNs.
But I think at the end of the day, it's mathematics. If you get 4 billion views a day, you can get 55% of that, or go to a site that gets you 10,000 views and get 100% of it. So it's just math. 100% of 0 is 0, and then you get 55% of something is something, right? So I think that's my response. And I think it's a great platform for testing as well. So, instead of you spending $10 million, financing a very high quality show, you can test, maybe 20 different shows.
55% out of €9 is better than 55% out of nothing. So that's why I think you see the leverage of the US players is really, there is a big difference still between our, like the SVOD model and the advertising model. And I really have to say that, in my opinion, if you go for quality content in the end, long form and professionally produced content, it's going to be a long way down the road until the equation will make sense based on the YouTube case.
Based on the mathematics now, it's going to take a long time before it makes sense, without any doubt.
You see you see many more House of Cards until then in a subscription model, for sure,
without any doubt.
And so let's talk about business building and scale and the future of television and so forth. YouTube is a huge business unto its own right. Netflix is massive. It sounds like you are actually getting to massive, as in lots of revenue, lots of employees, duplicable, so forth, and global. If you go back to the sort of print world, for most of the 1990s, as soon as the internet came along, everyone said, oh my goodness, newspapers are in trouble. And for 10 years, it was only laughter from the newspaper industry, because revenue just kept going like this, even though readership was starting to decline. Then in 2007, if you look at newspaper advertising, it just fell off a cliff, and it has not come back. And the lesson in media usually overall is ultimately money follows eyeballs. And there's no question, all of you have demonstrated this today, that eyeballs are moving off of traditional television, distribution, programming, to new forms of programming or new forms of distribution. Is that huge chart that I showed about the TV industry sort of laughing at all of us digital folks, saying, yeah, please tell us that we're dead, and look at how much money we made in the last 10 minutes, because it's more than you'll make in the last 10 years. Is that going to change? I mean, are the businesses that you're building going to become huge, as in will impress people at CBS someday, or will they just still be laughing forever?
I think it's about creating a multi-platform sort of projects. I did a TV show which was on Channel 4, but I filmed a little bit in the actual show, but then you could watch that later online, and that married very well. So people that was watching online that didn't know about the TV show went to watch TV, and people that didn't know about the online show. And I think it's about doing a few multi-platform projects, talking from my experience in the UK.
Without any doubt, Henry, but it comes back to what we just talked about, the content and the quality of the content, and then it comes back to scale, right? You need a certain scale to really appeal to the TV buyers, because they need a certain reach for the monies to actually matter, and that's a problem, I think, in many cases with online video, is that we're getting to scale, but we've been playing catch up to actually have a big enough audience, reaching a big enough audience. But as that is getting there, and as the content gets better and better, without any doubt.
I think I have to ask two questions. Number one is defining TV, because as we know, IPTV game consoles, they're emerging and their numbers are growing. So I think in the chart that you showed earlier, you did show mobile, but there was no game console, IPTV, and these emerging, obviously, platforms. So what do we consider as TV, right? Because I think all of, like, when you look at IPTV, game console, mobile devices, all of that is just connected devices, right? Online, these are all connected devices. And I think that when you're looking at online video consumption, reached an all-time high of 50 billion views, right? Based on ComScore stats, which they always obviously reported a little lower. At the same time, when you're looking at businesses like YouTube, they did 5.6 billion last year. When you're looking at overall digital, ad spendings, this year, it was 118 billion. By 2017, is predicted to get to 160 billion. So I don't think that $160 billion is dismal. And I think, but I also agree with you that TV is here to stay, because from an advertiser point of view, they're looking for quality, and that's where they're assured quality. But online brings targeting. And now, with respect to social being fully integrated with online, where you have G+, or you have Facebook video, when they launch it, or Vine, or Twitter, you really know your user. You really know your consumer in many different ways. You have so many touch points in terms of how they're consuming video content and products around the video content. So I really think that, again, TV is going to stay, but online video and connected devices are going to grow, and it's got a great future.
My feeling is that, I mean, first of all, I think because your two charts were a little bit misleading because of the values that you saw in sorry about that. Misleading in terms of the values, because when you compare the traditional TV business with YouTube, it's fairly small, maybe even a little bit too small compared to what it is today. But at the same time, there was already a significant chunk by the subscription models, which was already turning into billions. I think, if the question that you raised is probably the answer from my side, from my perspective, is that first of all, they will be kind of mad to be excluded from future revenues which come from the multi-device usage. So because we really blow up the households to 1, 2, 3 similar streaming situations at a time, which was not the traditional thing. I have the TV in one room. If I have a digital box, I may have a second digital box, but this is only 2% of the population. At the same time, my kids watch on tablets and other things. So we increase the using time, and they may not participate in that. That's the first bad news, really. Yeah? The second thing is that I think I completely agree that they will probably stay stable at CBS, but what they will see is that the content is going to shift. Because it will be increasingly difficult to lead people through a story with 20 series, 20 episodes in one season, follow the second season, You see how many seasons are dropped already. I mean, the franchises are being dropped like crazy. So there will be a shift to more like an event-based TV programming, which you can already see in Germany. And then I have to agree, with you guys, because if the shift happens, then all of a sudden maybe the value also may be a little bit shifting, because all of a sudden you don't have the same value that you have from a show like Breaking Bad and to some kind of a TV event like in Germany where you go into the jungle. And then the advertisers may look for another reach in order to put their money there. We never know, but this is kind of the thing, I believe, where it goes. So that means the TV will probably be stable, lose a lot of traction, and we grow over the devices and maybe come back in the end into the living room for a more steady business as it is today.
And I think if you come to a conference like this or any technology conference and you're in the media business or the media side, without fail, you get to see WhatsApp or Snapchat 20 seconds after they're found. They launch on Saturday, and by Wednesday they have 40 million users, and so forth. It's always you feeling very humiliating with your little media business and so forth. But the point that I would come back to is media businesses like this take time to build. But they build over time. And if you go back to CNN, for example, and this is, I think, a good analogy for Huffington Post Live, CNN launched 1981. It was basically broadcasting in a closet for 10 years. Then suddenly the Gulf War, people start to hear about them, another 10 years after that. Now everyone's talking, oh, CNN, nobody watches CNN. It's a terrible business. The ratings are terrible. It's like, okay, it's churning out $600 million of cash flow a year. Can I have that terrible business that nobody watches? That's great. And the same with Fox News and so forth. They build over time. And from my perspective, that's what I'm seeing in all of you. And I think Rupert Murdoch is somewhere on the stage here in 30 years, 40 years, I assume. I mean, is that the way you look at it? This is a long play. We just build a little bit over time, a little bit more. The eyeballs shift, and eventually the money follows.
It's definitely a long play, without any doubt. It's not shifting overnight, but as you just said, eventually the money will follow the eyeballs, and that's really the game that we're playing here, because right now there's a big disconnect with the eyeballs and the amount of money that goes into online video, for instance. So we are in it for the long run, and I'm sure we have to pivot a couple of times before we get it 100% right and appeal to a broad enough audience to actually capture the value that we want to capture.
And just as a final thing, we always have this question about whether it should be subscriptions or advertising. What I'm hearing is that it is subscriptions and advertising, that they're two very viable revenue streams, and it sounds like you're saying that there's even an e-commerce revenue stream, so there may be
absolutely.
another.
I think it's a combination of both, and it depends on the type of content, genre of content, and the device. So, and again, you know, you got to look at the user, you got to look at, you know, how they're consuming the content, and I think, yeah, there are going to be multiple revenue models.
Great. So overall, very optimistic view of digital video. Congratulations to all of you on your success, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.